The Los Angeles Angels have not made the postseason since 2014, and if you're a fan of the Angels like I am, or you've been on Angels Twitter, you may have heard the term Buttercup. Basically, there was a song that used to play at the 7th inning of every Angels home game where they would sing the song Buttercup, why do you build me up, Buttercup, just to let me down? And that's exactly what the Angels do year in and year out. So in 2023, I want to go over what are the things the 2023 Angels can fix to become a postseason team and build us up, not to let us down, but to actually do something with this roster and see Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout in the postseason come October. What is up, YouTube? It is your boy Namar Sports here, coming back at you with another MLB video. Today, we're going to be going over the 2023 Angels and what are the things that they can fix to become a postseason team. We saw them get off to a really hot start last year, and they kind of, fell completely apart after a, was it 12, 14 game losing streak? I can't remember. I try to suppress those memories. Before we get into today's video, don't forget to leave a like if you enjoyed it and subscribe for more MLB and mostly Angels content. Let's call it what it is. And don't forget to sign up at Thrive Fantasy at the link below. NFL Sunday's going on tomorrow, so place some player props. $10 deposit gets you $60 worth of money to bet with in free contest entries and 100% deposit match. $100 gets you $280 to bet with. What are you still doing here? Click on that link below. Sign up. It helps support the channel a ton more than you know. And send me a screenshot if you sign up. I'll shout you out on YouTube. Now, without further ado, let's take a look at the 2022 Angels and talk about what they can improve on in 2023 if they want to make the postseason for the first time since 2014. Okay, so when you think about the 2022 Angels or the Angels in the last 10 years or so, everybody likes to think of our pitching. They think our pitching is terrible. They think our pitching is the reason we can't do anything because, they have Mike Trout, they have Shohei Ohtani, they have Anthony Rendon. Obviously, their hitting's good, so they need some pitching to get Mike Trout to the postseason. But if you look at the 2022 Angels, as an overall pitching staff, we were 9th when it comes to ERA. And as far as our starting rotation, we were actually top 6 when it comes to ERA. And fielding independent pitching, we were top 10. So it wasn't even a fluke. The Angels starting pitching last season was solid. Their bullpen, on the other hand, was not great, but it wasn't the worst in all of baseball. Like, there were pretty solid teams. Like, the Phillies were a playoff team, and they were well below the Angels when it comes to bullpen ERA. So it wasn't the worst in Major League Baseball, but it definitely wasn't great. A bullpen's definitely an area we need to rely on. But today's video, I really wanted to talk about one thing, and that's offense. Our offense was atrocious. Atrocious is a compliment, honestly, with how bad our offense was. We all know Mike Trout, Shohei Ohtani, and then Taylor Ward had a breakout season last year. That was pretty solid. So Mike Trout, Shohei Ohtani, Taylor Ward. Those are 3 good bats. After that, the drop-off from there was insane. Anthony Rendon, we all know what happened. He only played in 47 games last year. Livan Soto came up at the end of the year, and he had a pretty good run. So 18 games for him. Congratulations. I put the threshold here at 50 plate appearances to be counted on this list. But look at these guys. Look at the drop-off after Taylor Ward. We have Anthony Rendon in 47 games. Luis Rengifo was okay, but he only posted a 103 WRC plus, 264. He put up a 723 OPS, which isn't great. I mean, it's above average. It's above average. Luis Rengifo had a solid season. I'm not trying to destroy Luis Rengifo, but he was average. He was maybe slightly above average. But after that, it was awful. Mike Ford had the 7th highest WRC plus on the team. Matt Thaiss had an okay season. Brandon Marsh isn't even on the team anymore. Matt Duffy was terrible. Jared Walsh was terrible. Joe Adell was terrible. Mickey Moniak was terrible. David Fletcher was terrible. Literally the entire roster outside of the top 3 spots. And if you don't believe me, this is the league leaders in numbers 1 through 3. 1 through 3 in the batting order. And Mike Trout was out for, a good part of the season. So this isn't even just Mike Trout, but it's mostly, Mike Trout, Shohei Ohtani, Taylor Ward. Look at where the Angels rank in WRC+. They are a top 5 team in the 1st through 3rd spots of the batting order, right? Now, this is numbers 4 through 9 in the batting order. Ready? We got the Blue Jays, we got the Braves, we got, oh look, playoff team, playoff team, playoff team, playoff team, playoff team, borderline playoff team, playoff team, borderline playoff team, playoff team went to the World Series, playoff team went to the World Series, playoff team, close to the playoffs, blah, 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 all the way down to the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim by a pretty wide margin. They were worse than the Pittsburgh Pirates. They were worse than the Detroit Tigers. They were worse than the Marlins. They were worse than the A's. They were worse than the Reds. They were the worst team in all of baseball after the 3rd batter in the batting order. So 4 through 9, the worst team in all of baseball. when it comes to offense. Now, how does something like this happen? This was the batting order outside of the top 3. We had Andrew Barrels Velasquez. I have a soft spot for Andrew Barrels Velasquez. I love this guy. Fun guy to watch, but terrible. He can't hit the ball. He can't hit the ball to save his life. He whiffs like crazy. He's a good defensive shortstop, but he just can't hit the ball. He can't hit the ball hard. David Fletcher, same thing. He's a great defensive second baseman, but he can't hit the ball to save his life. I mean, he can make contact to save his life. He just can't hit the ball hard. He can't find the gap. He is just a bad hitter. I'm not going to lie. 255, 288, 333, 621 OPS. That's terrible. That is a well below average, barely a bench bat in Major League Baseball. Max Stassi, this was our starting catcher. I don't even want to look at Kurt Suzuki's stats. This is our starting catcher last year. Just absolutely awful. Just absolutely awful in everything he did. 570 OPS. He can't even get to a 600 OPS, and 600 is still below average. It's unbelievable. Jared Walsh. I love me some Jared Walsh, don't get me wrong. All-star in, what was it, 2021? Great ball player. He was injured last year. I'll cut him some slack, but this is the kind of production he was putting out. 643 OPS. Terrible. Joe Adell last season. He's fast. Good for him. He's terrible in the field, and he can't hit to save his life. 637 OPS. Matt Duffy was starting for most of the season when he was healthy. When he was healthy, we were excited to get Matt Duffy in the lineup. 619 OPS. This is just awful. The lineup was a train wreck. They were striking out like crazy. They weren't walking enough. They weren't hitting the ball hard. They weren't hitting home runs. They legitimately couldn't do anything outside of the top 3. Shohei Ohtani and Trout tried to carry this team on their back, but they just couldn't. That's where all the Tungsten Armo Doyle games come in, because nobody can score runs outside of the top 3 spots in the batting order. Now let's compare them to a good team. This is a good playoff team. This is the team that won the most games in 2022. The Los Angeles Dodgers, you can see 1 above average, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. They had 11 above average hitters in 2022, whereas the Angels had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that's being generous. Realistically, they only had 3. Let's look at another great team, the Houston Astros. They weren't even as good as the Dodgers, but they had 7 above average hitters, and even guys coming off their bench weren't absolute train wrecks. Like, this is the same parameters here with the Astros versus the Angels. Look at all this below average production from the Angels compared to the Astros, people who got over 50 at-bats. Now, part of this is staying healthy. I'll give you that. If Anthony Rendon was healthy, a lot of these players wouldn't have ended up on the Angels. Jack Mayfield probably wouldn't have got many chances. Velasquez might not have played as much. Stefanik wouldn't have played as much. VR, we wouldn't have even picked up. I'll give you some credit there. It's about staying healthy, but realistically, look at all this crap that the Angels had on their roster in 2022. Now, I was really pessimistic there, but how are we fixing this? How is Perry Manassian trying to fix this, and how can you fix this extreme lack of production from our offense? Well, so you have Joe Adell. I already talked about how terrible he was last year. I'm throwing in the towel on Joe Adell. He's fast. He can be a bench bat, but outside of that, I don't really see much use for him. Honestly, I'd love for them to trade him if it's possible, but we're getting this production out of him. 637 OPS, all these terrible numbers. He's fast, but that's about it. And then we traded for Hunter Renfroe. Now, this isn't the best player in baseball. These are not Mike Trout quality numbers here, but an 807 OPS versus a 637 OPS, that is a massive jump in production. That is a massive jump in production. And I agree, his outs above average aren't absolutely insane like we'd like them to be, but 96 percentile in arm strength, so he's got a good arm coming in from right field. I will absolutely take this offensive production, and honestly, he's still better than Joe Adell defensively, so I don't see what there is to lose here. This is a massive upgrade, even though it's not the sexiest move. It's not Aaron Judge. It's not Mitch Haniger. This is a very, very good addition to the Angels. The Angels have already gotten so much better, significantly better just from this move. And then again, we got Jared Walsh, had a terrible season last year, 643 OPS, moving up to Gio Urshela. Not the sexiest move in the world. This guy is not the best, the best third baseman in the game, not the best second baseman, not the best first baseman in the game, but a 767 OPS with solid, league average or to slightly above average numbers when it comes to, you know, underlying metrics here on Baseball Savant versus Jared Walsh, who just had a terrible season last year. And we know what Walsh is capable of. We saw what he did in 2021. He was pretty solid in 2021. He was an all-star. He put up better numbers. I can't really... Yeah, 849 OPS in 2021. So if Jared Walsh can return to form, and we have Gio Urshela to supplement this and platoon with Anthony Rendon and Walsh just to make sure they all stay healthy, that is a very, very good move. Now, I also talked about catcher and shortstop. We talked about how Andrew Barrels Velasquez, one of my favorite players out here, was starting for us the majority of last season. I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it. He's not that expensive, and I know a lot of Angels Twitter doesn't like it, but look at how much better Dansby Swanson is than Andrew Barrels Velasquez. We got 776 OPS last season. When you go to his last couple of seasons, you can see 760, 809, 747 OPS. So he's done this for a significant amount of years in a row. This is not a fluke season by Dansby Swanson. You can see he always has hit the ball pretty well. This is basically, you already know what you're going to get when you're getting Dansby Swanson. Not to mention his 100th percentile outs above average, so he's an elite defensive shortstop. He's basically Andrew Barrels Velasquez if he could actually hit. And of course, I got to throw this man in here. If you really want to shell out the money, you know what you're getting in Carlos Correa, but this sounds like something that the Angels would sign, and then Correa would end up on the injured list with Rendon and Trout in the first month of the season. So I would lean towards Dansby Swanson. He's not going to be as expensive, so we can still afford to sign Shohei to an extension if he wants to stay. But Correa obviously would be a great option as well. Now, one last massive hole that we have here is at catcher, but you could see Max Stassi was last season just not good. This is not a starting caliber catcher in the major leagues, but there is hope here for an internal option, and that, of course, is Logan O'Hoppe. So Logan O'Hoppe last season, he came up for the last 5 games of the season, 98 WRC plus, didn't hit any home runs, but, you know, he did put up some numbers, which is good to see. But last year in Double-A, are you kidding me, dude? This guy was ridiculous. He was batting so when he went to the Angels after he got traded to the Phillies, 306, 473, 673. That is absolutely insane. 194 WRC plus, 144 WRC plus with the Phillies, and then of course he came up and put up league average production. If Logan O'Hoppe can be a league average to slightly above league average catcher, and then we already upgraded with Hunter Renfroe. We upgraded with Gio Urshela coming off the bench. And if we sign a shortstop, this offense is good. This offense went from the worst in baseball after the number 3 spot. I'm not going to say it's the best after the number 3 spot, but that is a huge jump in production. If Logan O'Hoppe pans out just a little bit, I'm not saying he's going to be Buster Posey. If we sign Dansby Swanson or Carlos Correa, and then we already have Gio Urshela and Hunter Renfroe, those are great, great, great options. I love to see. So at the end of the day, I'm cautiously optimistic about the Angels 2023 season. Let me know how you guys feel about it down in the comments below. Do you agree with me? Do you think that offense is our biggest issue and what needs to be fixed? I've already talked about in the past our good bullpen options that can come up and bolster the bullpen. I think our rotation is very solid. I would like to see an elite starter added, like Kodai Senga or Senga, you know, Carlos Rodon would be fun. Chris Bassett would be great. But honestly, I think as our rotation stands, our rotation's good enough to get us to the playoffs. I don't think it's good enough to get us to the World Series, but at least the playoffs. I think our bullpen could be solid next year. We already signed Carlos Estevez. You never know what's going to happen with Loop and Tepera. And we've already seen some good performances from guys down in the minors that I would love to see called up next year. And then, of course, our lineup. That's the big issue for me right now. So let me know down in the comments what you guys think. Don't forget to leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it and subscribe for more daily MLB content. I'll see you guys in the next one. I hope you have a great rest of your day.